The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Aaron Rodgers will start at quarterback for the Jets on Sunday against Geno Smith and the Seahawks. Jeff Ulbrich also was asked point blank about some of the reports surrounding Rodgers' future. We'll get into that and much more when Will Parkinson joins us in his weekly spot on the show. It's the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started. Man.
Shout out to Jet fans that are still showing up. I don't know what sort of dysfunctional family they grew up in, but I feel like if you parents were two people that should have broke up but never did, you're tailor-made to be a Jets fan because it's a toxic relationship. The level of swag that Jet fans wear, you would think that they had like 4 or 5 Super Bowls.
We bleed Jets green each and every day. This is not the same old Jets. We have Aaron freaking Rodgers. We have Garrett Wilson. Let's go. We have Breece Hall. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chat, baby. Cut the line. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Quinnen Williams. The Jets bandwagon is loaded. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show. Here we go, Jet fans. Welcome in, everybody. Click that like button, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, what are you waiting for? Help us continue to grow. We hit over 40,000 subscribers earlier this month, and we're well on our way to 41,000. So thank you to everyone who takes time out of their day to tune in either live or after the fact. Joining us right now in his weekly spot to talk all things Jets is the host of the Turn on the Jets podcast, Will Parkinson. Will, normally you join us after Jet losses. We had a bye week, so the Jets could not lose, yet they remain in the news and certainly a lot to talk about.
Yeah, that was what a bye week, man. Like that was horrible. That was geez. Yeah, no, that was doing 3 emergency podcasts and on the TOJ Badlands feed on a bye week was not what I was expecting.
It was a week for the ages, and now we get back to football being played later this week. Sunday, Jets taking on the Seahawks. I want to pull up a tweet from Dennis Waszak, who covers the team for the Associated Press. Basically just sums up the news involving Aaron Rodgers after Jeff Ulbrich spoke to the media for the first time since all this went down last week. Ulbrich saying there have been no discussions about sitting/shutting down Rodgers, says Rodgers is absolutely the quarterback. He added that Rodgers is feeling better off today than he has felt in the past month, and he said any reports of Rodgers declining medical scans are news to him. We'll go, one by one here, right? Rodgers absolutely the quarterback. There was some thought, are they just going to put Rodgers in IR? Then there was a story, could they just cut him? Well, for at least this week, that's not happening. Rodgers will start Sunday against Seattle.
Yeah, I think this is something maybe more down the line we see, as the season goes along. Look, I think they probably give Rodgers a shot here to see how the hamstring's the one that's been killing him. And I know Boomer Esiason, I was tweeting about it earlier. Boomer Esiason's tweeted about it. I'm sure everybody who watches the Jets has noticed. Just week 3, Rodgers moved around the whole time. He finally got comfortable with the Achilles, moving around, looks great. It's the best he looked all year, obviously, as we know. Week 4, the first half, bad weather, wasn't going great, but he was moving a lot. The O-line was getting cooked, but I thought Rodgers was moving really well. I think he had 5 carries for about 26 yards, if I'm not mistaken, Jake, and a couple throws in the run. You were like, all right, he's throwing the ball deep, got a pass interference, like a 40-yard pass down the field, right? Like we're cooking there. And then you could see he pulled the hamstring at some point. I have to find the exact play. You could watch it, and you see him grab at it. He got rolled up on with the knee a couple times. He got killed in that Denver game, and felt pretty compromised going into Minnesota. And I don't know this for a fact in any way, shape, or form. This is not a report. I wonder if the Woody suggesting Rodgers being benched was about potentially saying, hey, he's clearly hurt. Should we sit him for a game in London where I have all my buddies? are going to be there, and can maybe that, I don't know. Again, I don't know. Maybe that we can get to the story in a second. I have no idea. But then he gets rolled up on, and the ankle happens, and he's still compromised, Jake. But I wonder if you remember this play, because I think this was a big changing play in their season. Obviously, the hamstring. Week 6 against Pittsburgh, the first 2 drives, he wasn't moving great the first half of that game, but the Jets go up 15-6. He rolls out to Conklin, throws him the wide open touchdown, and immediately you watch Rodgers grab the hamstring again. Ever since then, he just has not moved at all. That game, following games, it just like he couldn't move at all. And I just wonder if, in hindsight, Rodgers being a warrior in terms of playing through injury came back to bite them. I just wonder, again, I don't know how much the season would have been different, right? You saw the coaching exposed, some of the ineptitude in the organization, some of the kicking problems, et cetera. But I do wonder at 2-4 there, or at whatever it was, I think it was 2-4 in Pittsburgh, that may have moved into 2-5, or would they have won the New England game if Tyrod played for a game to let Rodgers get 2 weeks to heal, or whatever it is? You know what I mean? Like, it's a shame to think about that it wasn't the Achilles this time. It was a hamstring, soft tissue injury in the ankle, but he took pretty bad beating those 2 weeks. And I feel like we haven't seen, this is probably the first time he's felt as healthy. What that means, I really have no idea at this point.
Well, the thing is, when you think back to when they could have shut him down, even if they sat him for the Patriot game, they still scored more than enough points in that game to win, which is so frustrating about the season, that even though we all understand Rodgers has not been great, the accounting stats don't look bad, 17 touchdowns, 7 picks, but just the lack of mobility, not throwing downfield, he hasn't played well overall. I think that's fair to say, but he's played well enough. If this team was anywhere close to what we thought they were going to be on defense, and certainly in the kicking game, they scored 25 points against New England and lost. And Rodgers, though, in the offense, scored a touchdown to give them the lead. They made Jacoby Brissett have to score a touchdown to beat them, and he did. Same thing before the bye week against Indianapolis, right? So this whole year's been a nightmare. But, the question with Rodgers here down the stretch, so Ober comes out, says it's the healthiest he's been. Can he, let's say, go out there over these final 6 and play not, I don't know, he's been okay, but actually we look at it and go, he played well these last 6 weeks, and then change the idea that his fate with the Jets has already been decided, he's not going to be back? Because I think any talk of there's no way he's here next year, I'm not buying it when we don't have a GM, we don't have a head coach, and there's still 6 games left. Think about how much could change over these final 6 weeks.
We have the quarter. No. Look, I honestly don't know, because I think it's not just about whether he's with the Jets next year. It's whether Rodgers plays next year. Right? Like, if he gets eviscerated the next 6 weeks, maybe it's a different conversation. If he looks really good, does it make Woody go, oh man, like kicking 2 games, Rodgers injuries, bad coach. If if we run this back and we get a good coach, and there's just so many different outcomes. If Rodgers looks like the first half against Indy Rodgers, there's no chance he's back here next year.
And he can't really have any more games like that if we're serious about bringing him back.
And then there's the opposite side which is the idea that I think many of us, as much it's, the kind of, hey, I'm potentially open to it, is if he looks like the second half Rodgers, where wasn't great, wasn't amazing, but like they scored, I don't know what, 20 plus points in that over that stretch. Does ownership talk themselves into, hey, we'll run Rodgers out there, Tyrod and a rookie, and if Rodgers sucks, we shut him down next year. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder. I don't know, to be honest with you. I just think that it's going to be really week by week at this point. I think it's, if Rodgers is truly healthy, actually, and the hamstring is actually healthy, and he starts to push the ball down the field, and he looks like he can evade a rush even a little bit, that's a big difference. If it's, hey, his accounting stats are good, but it's still a lot of 5 to 10, maybe 15 yards down the field, and is not moving well, I think that it's probably an easier decision. I don't think either way this team's blowing up the core of this roster, let alone this really roster as a whole at all. Because I don't think any GM or head coach wants to come in here and start, like, we've had this conversation a million times. I think a lot of people, like, whether it depends what they do at quarterback, obviously. But I don't think the rest of this roster is all of a sudden going to get torched. But yeah, no, I think Rodgers has a chance to be back here next year, but it feels like, I think I was more 65-35 he would be back going into the Colts game. I feel 40, 60, he's not, that he's back next year. Like I feel like things have changed. It's not just the articles. It's not even about that. There's been, the leaks everywhere, but I just think potentially it's really going to come down to, long story short, whether fans want to hear this or not, it's going to come down to if you go into the interviews and you say, you don't have to, we're open to whatever you want with Rodgers. Like, if you go in and I'm just using Mike Vrabel as an example. It doesn't, just take it for whatever. It's just an example. And they say, hey, listen, quarterback's up to you. The GM and the head coach, whoever it is, I should have used a better example. I don't know. Mike Borgonzi is the GM, which it's not going to happen, but just for the lack of it, hey, Mike, like whatever you're going to want to do, like show me your pitch with Rodgers, without Rodgers. What's your idea to fix this thing? And
I think you just ask him, Will. You just ask the prospective candidates, hey,
it's the same thing they did with Darnold back with Joe Douglas. And it's going to be the same thing with Saleh and Douglas. And hey, Robert Saleh, like, can you make it work with Sam? And what would you do if you don't make it work with Sam? Like, what are your prospective plans? I just think you leave it up to them and they make the decision. If they are convinced that they can make the best out of Rodgers, you roll with it. And if they say, hey man, I don't want to deal with that, I'm good. I can win 9 to 11 games next year with this roster and Tyrod. I don't know if that's accurate, even realistic, but just for the sake of it, then you let them do it. That's the whole point of giving up the control and letting the football people make football decisions.
Hit the like button if you're tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. More importantly, if you haven't done so already, we're talking with Will Parkinson. He joins us typically every Monday after Jet games. He's joining us after the Jet bye week. The other piece of news here from Ulbrich today in regards to Rodgers. He says any reports of Rodgers declining medical scans are news to him. So he's not saying it didn't happen. He's just not saying that it happened. I mean, look, on one hand, you got to respect Rodgers at age 40, soon to be 41, trying to gut it out and play. But this is where, if you had a real coach, a real GM, they would push back on Rodgers and say, we respect the hell out of you trying to gut through it and play and help this team. But if you're that injured, we brought Tyrod Taylor in here for a reason so he could come in and spot start and get you healthy before you go back out there. This is where a real organization would have stepped in if it's truly as serious of an injury as Ian Rappaport said it was yesterday in his story on NFL.com, that it was a, quote, significant hamstring injury he suffered against Denver, as you brought up, Will. So, like, that to me, on one hand, I respect Rodgers for wanting to be a warrior and gut it out, but a real organization would not allow the franchise quarterback to be out there at age 40 declining medical scans so we don't know the severity of his injury.
Here's a crazy question for you. If Woody was suggesting that, let's just play into the theory that he wasn't necessarily saying to bench Rodgers because he sucked, but to bench Rodgers because he was hurt. How many of those things in the article did Woody cook with? Like, low-key, I'm just saying, if you go through it, most of those things, he didn't want to pay Reddick. No Jets fan wants to pay Reddick, right? Joe Douglas still traded for him. Not really sure why you traded for somebody if you knew you weren't going to be able to get him extended. I think everyone wanted Devontae. No one would have traded Lazard in a 4 and a monster contract. They take on a monster contract and Jerry Jeudy. What else was in that article? The Huff thing was stupid and the JFM thing's stupid. That's a whole nother discussion. I'm not saying Woody was perfect. I'm just saying.
They didn't even mention JFM in the article, though, for what it's worth.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know why. But, and then not for nothing, like, everyone said Saleh sucked. So I'm not saying Woody was right. I'm not defending him. If you're just saying if you want to have some comic relief, like, Sneaky didn't totally mess up here. Was it Brick Johnson cooking? Like, I don't know. No, in all seriousness, the time would have been a while ago to sit him down for a week or two, or even post Texans game, say, oh man, Arizona's a really tough game on the road. Tough defense. They're going to blitz them a lot. Let's let
couldn't
Rodgers
do it after a win when he played that well in the second
half.
I
know. I'm saying, like, there were so many times at this
after
point,
Pittsburgh, right? That's the only time you could have done it. That's it.
Yeah. Or Minnesota too. Like, even this is the hindsight.
But then he played well against Buffalo on Monday night, so it's like I don't know what to make of that.
I know. Then it's like, in hindsight, should they have done Minnesota game, not let him come back in the game on, like, clearly an extremely compromised hamstring and compromised ankle, and then said, hey, Tyrod, finish this game off. Let's see if we can make a comeback here. When I think it was 10-0 at that point. And then, like, let him play against Buffalo the next week with, like, a week rest and maybe he looks better. I don't know. I just, it's really unfortunate because he has looked good at points, but he's also looked pretty bad at points. And it's just really hard in all seriousness to know how much is affected by the injury. And it's like one of those scary things where if you did bring him back and like, let's just say Rodgers plays well, but it's clearly still compromised. Is he just always going to be compromised?
That's my fear. That's my fear, right? I mean, he's now a 40, soon to be 41-year-old. This is what typically happens to older players. You get nicked up, you're more susceptible to injuries. And look what happened his last year in Green Bay. Rib injury, broken thumb. Like, okay, we could excuse it away. Then 4 plays in last year, immediately done for the season.
Too, and had the calf and calf too.
A great point. He had the calf injury in OTAs. Yeah. And then you fast forward to this year, he's dealt with 3 different lower body injuries. So it's, I don't think he magically gets healthier next year. I think if we're going to bank everything on, Rodgers will be healthy next year. No, he might play every game like he's trying to this year, but he's not going to be healthy. His body's going to be beat up. That's what's going to happen here.
It's just tough, man. I don't know. You look at it and like the one thing that's the difference with Rodgers, than, maybe, per se a Brady, and it's not, I know people point to a bunch of different stuff that I don't know if it's entirely accurate, is Tom never moved. So like Tom getting older and the mobility getting worse and worse didn't necessarily hurt him. Rodgers has been a guy who, and I'm not casting any aspersions on Patrick Mahomes. I'm just saying they have a very similar play style where we saw even when Rodgers was good this year and there was games where he was healthy, like this dude was moving around. He makes plays on the run. The Patriots game, so many of those throws were off script, out of pocket plays where Rodgers is just so much better than everybody. And even the Denver game, being able to pick up first downs with his legs. It's like teams have been able to just blitz the Jets and do these different things because Rodgers clearly doesn't feel confident enough to hang in the pocket to let routes develop. So he's either getting the ball out quick, trying to change the play so many times to get it in the perfect situation, or lastly, not being able to move the way he wants. You see glimpses, but yeah, I don't know whether Rodgers got declined scans or not. I don't have any insight into that, to be honest with you. But I wouldn't be shocked if he was like, I'm not, because he probably knew. Rodgers isn't dumb. Rodgers is extremely smart. I'm sure he knew the second that he pulled that thing against Denver, he was like, F. Like, I don't want to start cursing, but like he probably knew. Rodgers said he knew last year the second it happened, it was his Achilles. He knew about his calf, right?
Yeah, these guys know how severe certain injuries are.
And Jake, I was on your show during the summer saying the one fear I had besides the staff was not Rodgers getting hurt with an Achilles or something crazy, was the soft tissue stuff that pops up. I use the example. I was a D1 and a D3 college football player. I was a nobody. It's not about that. But my leg exploded. It took as soon as I came back, I was feeling great. 2 weeks back into practice, when I'm just about to ramp up to get back ready to play, I popped my hamstring because your body was focused so hard on fixing this one major injury that my opposite hamstring, that was my strong leg for a year, trying to push myself through, popped. And then, you're fine after a couple of weeks. But I just think Rodgers never recovered. And I don't know if I don't know. I feel like he would need time. And again, it's just such a hard thing to know if he would ever return back to true form. Hopefully he sees something the next 6 weeks, Jake, to just go, whether it's trade value to like the Titans for, I don't even know what pick would happen, or it's for the Jets, or it's for whatever. I'd like to see 1 or 2 more really cool glimpses of Rodgers before maybe it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, just for him, I don't want him to go out this way. Like,
I don't want the Drew Brees Peyton experience. Like, it's kind of what we're trending towards, and it's hard to watch.
Yeah, I know it's brutal, and I also think there's something to be said for this team winning some games here, so you don't finish with 3 wins, and every young player once again is disgruntled, gets used to losing, and they might ask out. Like, that's my concern, Like, you don't want – and look, there's a new regime coming in that's going to try and change the culture anyway, but, like, don't be pathetic. Like, that was pathetic what they did against Arizona, for example. Like, show some pride. You have 2 divisional games left against Miami. You could wreck their playoff dreams by winning at least one of those. I don't expect them to go into Buffalo and win, but still, like, you're playing for pride here, and there's some young players on this team that we're evaluating here. So I hope they play well.
Yeah, this is where I know I disagree with people, and I think I disagreed last year with folks on on the pick thing, and maybe I would have been wrong. And maybe I'll end up being wrong in the long run. But I think the New England game that they would have taken the same guy, it's at 8 that they would have gotten it at 11 or and whatever, had they not won that. But if the Jets are winning games over these next 6 because Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Sauce Gardner, Michael Carter, the offensive line, there all these guys that'll be here, right? The core guys. Will McDonald has a huge strip sack to win them the game this week against Seattle. I don't know. You live with it because that's the core of your team that you want to build a winning culture with, and you also want these guys to be here. They're going to have to pay Garrett Wilson this offseason. And it's not going to be much of a discussion. It's going to be probably the first thing the new GM has to do is pay Garrett Wilson before the market gets even crazier. Before Garrett goes, dude, I lost 5 games or 4 games all of college. Probably didn't lose much in high school and has lost, I will probably amount to at least 30 plus games my first 3 years. I think that that stuff is important. Now, look, I don't think the Jets winning 4 out of 6, if theoretically they did that, and it's all because of Alan Lazard coming back and, I don't know, just using whatever random example. No, Javon Kinlaw plays his ass off. That's not really going to do it for you. But the Washington game, Jake, I think about it this way. The Washington game last year, right? And the Patriots game, the 2 games Jets fans were pretty, I don't know what the word, conflicted on. Part of the coolest part about those games was that Breece Hall was the best football player on the field. And at least you were you know what? We really just won 2 games because Breece Hall was that damn good. At least if that stuff's happening, you go, this is a pretty draft. And at least my young guys are building it's because of them. Again, if it's because, it's guys that won't be here, maybe you feel differently. If it's Sauce still looks bad and Garrett's not doing well, and then it's not as exciting. But I don't think that what's the point of rooting for losing it? They're going to probably lose anyways. You don't have to root for them to lose for them to lose. They'll probably figure out a way to do it on their own. So I don't know. I'd like to see a little bit of heart, but at this point, honestly, you're looking for individual performances more than you're looking for a team performance unless they surprise you.
No doubt. And look, we'll see how it plays out. But the first thing that everyone's going to be watching in this game on Sunday is, it's just let's watch what Rodgers looks like. Let's see how he plays. Is he healthy? That hamstring heal up? I mean, that's certainly a huge storyline. We'll get to some calls with Will. We'll get to some super chats with Will. I also want to get his thoughts on the news we led the show with earlier about Mike Tannenbaum and Rick Spielman being involved in the search for the next GM and coach. Before we do any of that, let's talk about our brand new sponsor, Public Rec.
Introducing the Workday Pant 2.0, a technical 5-pocket pant designed to feel comfortable and look formal. Made from innovative performance fabric that's water and wind resistant for all seasons. It's not just a better feel, it's also a better fit. The Workday Pant is available in waist and inseam sizes to guarantee a tailored look, so you can be comfortable and feel confident always.
Yeah, baby. All right. I'm not a model here, so I'm not going to try on the pants, but you got to take my word for it. They were nice enough to send me a bunch of Public Rec pants, the Dealmaker pants you just saw up there on the screen, and they're awesome. And I love the hoodies as well. I wore the black one earlier. I'm wearing the blue one right now. Check it out on their website, publicrec.com. And while you're there, use promo code Asman at checkout, and you'll get 20% off. Once again, upgrade the wardrobe instantly and save 20% with code Asman at publicrec.com. I'm telling you, comfortable pants you can wear to work and you can wear on the golf course, comfortable hoodies, and much more. Publicrec.com, promo code Asman for 20% off. Shout out to Public Rec for being a part of our show. We'll bring Will back on right now. And Will, what was your reaction to the news earlier that the Jets have hired the 33rd team, which was founded by former Jets GM Mike Tannenbaum, and Rick Spielman, former Vikings general manager, will be basically helping the Johnson brothers with the process to hire the next GM and head coach?
Couple of things. One, I thought it was a really smart decision to bring in football people to help put together different lists to be able to help vet candidates throughout the interview process, to give input They're not making the ultimate decision. They're helping guide the Jets in the right direction to hire a really good GM and a really good coach. You'd hope. The last 3 coaches Mike Tannenbaum has hired have been all playoff teams, guys that have gone to the playoffs. The last GM that Rick Spielman helped hire is the Washington Commanders in Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. And brother of Rick Spielman, Chris Spielman, was brought into the Lions to do this exact same thing and be a special advisor to the owner. He hired Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. So the Spielman brothers know ball. The 33rd team is comprised of a bunch of coaches in the league that got back in, a bunch of front office executives, a lot more than people realize. Doug Peterson went and worked there before he went back to the Jaguars and won a playoff game. There's no joke there. There's guys in the Chargers staff. There's guys everywhere across the league that have gone and helped, and did some content and different things with Mike T and others. Mike Tannenbaum also knows football. I know Jets fans for some reason have this love affection with Joe Douglas and this hatred of Mike Tannenbaum. I really don't understand it for a second. Mike didn't. The last 2 years were pretty brutal, but everyone loves to defend Rex and ignore those years when Rex put Mark Sanchez back in a preseason game and got him absolutely murdered, and different things of that. It's just interesting how these. We like to remember some things well and some other things not so well. Mike was a guy who learned under Parcells, who did a really nice job as Jets GM, especially early on for a long time. Yeah, they were in a Super Bowl win now window, and he stretched too far, right? They probably took the wrong quarterback. But it just, to me, Mike's not coming in there and saying, I want to be the GM. Mike's coming in there and saying, I know everyone around the league. And if you're basing off Mike's ESPN opinions, I would tell you I think a lot of that stuff, I don't know, you worked out. I'm not going to go down that route. A lot of these shows, there's opinions and there's things that are brought to the table that would potentially entice viewers.
Mike's opinions on TV have nothing to do with his ability to identify competent
Yes.
GM and coaching candidates. I mean, it's also a different job he's doing here with the Jets than the job he had when he was the GM. We're not going to sit here and say, why'd you sign Derek Mason, Mike? You're not qualified for this. It's completely different. You already said it. He hired 3 coaches that took a team to the playoffs, including 2 of them with the Jets. The Jets have not sniffed the playoffs since he last was here. He's been a GM in the biggest media market in the world and has done the job at a high level at one point in time. This is a guy that the Johnson family trusts, and you want them to listen to football people. Tannenbaum and Spielman are football people. Anyone who's freaking out about this, you either hate the Jets or you're Mike Florio, who's trying to rage bait right now on social media. Give me a break.
I couldn't resist on that one. But to me, Rick's proven that he can do this job. He's been a 2-time extremely successful GM. Rick's been fantastic on TV. If you like using people's TV coverage. And again, Rick did this last year, was in this same exact spot with an organization that was floundering, an organization that people didn't take seriously at all. And Rick came in there and, alongside Bob Myers. And you don't think Rick Spielman knew a little bit more about the NFL people than Bob Myers did? Let's get a grip here. And went in, helped identify a bunch of good candidates. People wanted Ben Johnson. Guess who? The Washington was all over, and the reason they didn't get Ben Johnson is because he ended up leaving. It has nothing to do. They thought they were getting him.
They didn't want the job at the end of the day. Changed his mind.
And that's an Adam Gase disciple, by the way, Ben Johnson. For those who are obsessed with him, but not for nothing. Yes, Ben Z. Rick Spielman is the guy who drafted Justin Jefferson when he was in Minnesota in his second to last draft. There. But again, I just think that everyone wanted Woody to have less influence on who they interview. And I would assume this is a good thing in terms. I'd much rather Mike Tannenbaum, Chris Spielman, and a bunch of actual analytics and data help drive who the Jets are going to interview over Woody Johnson. And if this means that Woody's going to, and Woody and Chris will have the decision at the end of the day, there's no doubt. But I'd much rather this process get started with, hey, Mike Tannenbaum and Rick Spielman going, who's a really interesting guy? This Liam Cohen guy down in Tampa. And I like, John Spytek and Mike Greenberg are pretty damn good candidates. We should probably interview those guys because that's they know football and they understand that. Or, hey, this Jesse Minter guy out in LA, number one defense in the league with an undermanned unit, Harbaugh tree. Could we be a year early instead of a year late? Like, maybe we should interview this guy. Is Woody thinking like that? Is Woody watching every Chargers game? No, but I guarantee you Mike and Rick can look at the data and say, wow, the difference in this Chargers defense year over year with even less talent than the year before. Interesting. Maybe we should look into that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really get the hatred of it, to be honest with you, Jake, other than making fun of the Jets because they're the Jets. But this is kind of an anti-Jets move. The Jets move would have been, and I know everyone loved the former player idea, but in all seriousness, would you rather Rick Spielman, who has been a GM twice, look for another GM, or Curtis Martin, who has not worked in any way, shape, or form building a scouting staff and all that stuff? I love the Curtis idea as a good football guy to like have relationships. But what are we doing here? Come on. That's crazy to me.
Also, let's push back on someone who's in the chat who obviously doesn't have a brain that's functioning today. Eric writes in, drafting Jefferson wasn't hard. Oh,
Why
yeah?
you got 21 overall then?
Yeah. Why wasn't he the first pick in the draft, Derek? Oh, because you don't know ball? That's right. See ya.
He stinks.
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
You're fired.
Suck it, Truthers.
I mean, give me a break, man. I mean, Howie Roseman, I think, is one of the best GMs in football. He took Jalen Reagor a pick before Justin Jefferson. If it's so easy, I mean, and that's a great GM making that mistake. It is hard. Spielman is accomplished. He did the exact role the Jets hired him to do today last year. Enough said. And Tannenbaum can speak to identifying leaders and working in this market. He's done a good job of that. So it's crazy to me, some of the blowback from this, but really the Jets could do anything at this point, Will. If people are going to have a problem with it, they have to win. It's the only way any of this changes.
Just like crazy to me. Like, I swear sometimes people just want to complain. Like, is there any name the Jets could have brought in to help consult that people would have been happy about? Like, all seriousness, like, was there any name? Because
Vince Lombardi reincarnated.
Damn, people would have been like, oh my God, Bill Parcells is coming in to help. Bill Parcells is 84 years old. You're in order to have an outside. It's not like Rick's that far removed from being in the NFL. Mike is not that far removed. Not only is Mike less far removed than Rex is, but Mike's also been around the game. It's not like a lot of the relationships in the building. It's a lot more of like, hey, these guys, people that are up for GM jobs might have been working for Rick, might have been working for Mike back in the day. They could have been interacting with them. They could have been people that were really impressive scouts that Rick might have worked with back in 2021 in Minnesota. He saw around the league that he has relationships with and can call up a GM and that won't bullshit him. Sorry, cursing your show. And we'll say, I honestly would highly recommend this guy. I don't know, or this girl. Like, I don't know. Let's just use the example, right? Rick Spielman, hey, gets on the phone and is calling around the league and, okay, Brett Veach, we've been really close. We worked together for a long time. This Mike Borgonzi character, like, tell me more about him. And then they have a good conversation. You think Woody Johnson's calling up one of the Hunt brothers and like, that's not happening. So again, I just would rather football people be helping here. And it's not, again, Mike Tannenbaum's not hiring himself. So for whatever reason that keeps getting passed around, does this mean that Mike had a good relationship with Eric Mangini and say, hey, maybe do you want to help be part of building our scouting staff and help and assisting whoever the GM would be? Does this mean, Donna Ponte gets a head of football operations job with the Jets and is able to, redo things around there because she worked for Mike and worked with the Jets, and the Jets are going to go hire Mike Vrabel and give him GM pat. Like, you know what I mean? There's so many options now, but everyone wanted Woody to like F off. And this is a step in Woody being less in control of the situation. And yet somehow people are now complaining about it. Washington did this last year and people literally generationally applauded the move. Go look at the tweet, Jake. Adam Schefter tweeted the same thing and pretty much right after the season was over last year. It's the same tweet. If you search Spielman Commanders, anyone that's listening, go do it. You'll see Adam Schefter's quote tweet. Bob Myers and Rick Spielman set to serve as advisors to owner Josh Harris, in so many words. the comments. This is awesome. Rick's going to cook. Rick's going to cook. Bob Meyer's going to cook. This is awesome. Look under the Jets one. So stupid. F. Woody Johnson. Ha, 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 Jets. Just remember that when you're looking at people doing that.
Well, here's the thing, right? You want to see what a moron looks like? Here's Mike Florio's tweet at Pro Football Talk. It's one thing for Josh Harris, who had just bought the Commanders, to hire outsiders to help him hire a coach and GM. It's another thing for Woody Johnson, who has owned the Jets for 25 years, to do it. So we rip Woody when we say he meddles, but now Woody Johnson comes out and acknowledges he's not a football guy. Let me bring in two people that have done the job, including one that was the most successful GM we've had since anyone's had that position with our organization. We bring two qualified people in to advise, and a guy with one of the biggest followings in the national media is still going to rip on the Jets and Woody? I mean, give me a break. How is this a real tweet from Mike Florio? I mean, this is such a joke. How could you tweet this and rip Woody Johnson for asking for help and doing something about it when the narrative all week I had to listen to how much Woody's meddling and he doesn't let anyone do his job? I mean, it's such BS. Florio is such a hack for this tweet. He's a joke for this one. My God.
I literally tweeted what's her name, Lizzo and Rick Ross thing, and like that's literally empowered versus like the fat versus empowered thing. Like that's literally what we're witnessing. Again, is it perfect? Do we have any idea? Does anyone really know if Rick and Mike might give horrible suggestions? I don't know.
They're going to be judged based on who they hire, but I feel better about them making recommendations than Woody doing it by himself.
Here's the difference. Chris Johnson, the last time we did this, instead of hiring Todd Monken, got a call from Peyton Manning, who easily worked him over to hire Adam Gase. I would think Mike and Rick, knowing this is going to be very data-driven, knowing that their company, Mike's company, is going to be either generationally praised or crapped on with this, and teams do this all around the league. I think Mike's going to take this very seriously. Rick's going to take this very seriously. This is not a joke to them. And Peyton Manning got zero heat nationally for doing what he did with Adam Gase. Zero. And we know that the Johnsons in the past have been enamored with the superstar quarterback or other people making a recommendation and doing these different things. I know Mike. I don't see Mike being worked over like that by a recommendation. Yeah, well, they know people, and they might give a recommendation for something else, but I don't know, man. I just thought this was I thought the Jets. I thought it was the right idea. I like the idea. The results will speak for themselves, but just absolutely killing the move without, like, again, they're not hiring them. And Mike, I mean, look, the Jets wanted to interview Rick Spielman. Like, I wouldn't be upset about him being the Jets GM, but these guys know football, man. Like, everyone loves to crush Mike, and I love how Rex and Mangini are the only ones that get credit for 2007.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's actually insane. But that's the way it works. Rex is very boisterous. Mike's very stern, and kind of serious and whatever, and it's not a fan. So, people don't love him, but I don't know. It's just interesting. I always look back at that. I'm like, hey, this guy drafted pretty well, right? I guess he gets no credit for anything.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just the drafts, right? Some of the trades Mike made, free agent signings, and it's a different job he's doing here once again. So that's what I keep coming back to. Some super chats. Mock says Favre and Rodgers both ruined due to injury in New York. Yeah, I mean, Favre, the team was 8-3. Today's the anniversary, I'm pretty sure, of the win over the Titans when the Jets went into Tennessee and beat a 10-0 Titans team. And Favre played well. Washington was incredible that day. They're 8-3, and then it all fell apart. And Rodgers, look, ultimately, we know he's playing through an injury this year, but it all goes back to what happened last year 4 plays in, because it changed everything. It gave this regime, this staff, a mulligan, when in hindsight, if Rodgers played most of last year and they underperformed, they could have had Mike Vrabel coaching them this year in an all-in year. They could have had maybe Jim Harbaugh here, someone else that's not Robert Saleh and his staff. And it's a shame, Will, because ultimately we'll look back on the Rodgers tenure and how we didn't know it at the time. We didn't want to believe it, but it ended 4 plays in 2 years ago.
Yeah, man. It's just, you look back and, I was doing a deep dive on Saturday, just kind of, bye week, just looking back. The Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas era probably died week 8, 2022. They got a second lease on life, getting Rodgers. and then it ultimately died week 4 this year. Excuse me, when Rodgers tore the ham or pulled the hammy. Yeah, it stinks, man. It's just kind of one of those what ifs. Like, hey, most of it may not end well, but it's like, what would it have been? Could they have been competitive this year? And maybe this is a really, really good job if Rodgers walks away and they're 10-7 and they have all this optimism going into 2025 and with another quarterback and head coach. I don't know. It's just always, it'll always be interesting to kind of the what if. Same thing with Favre, but the last time they went through this, and everyone had high expectations and they ended up failing. They obviously went on a run after that and getting a new head coach, so a new quarterback. So we'll see what happens.
Ladies and gentlemen, more of your super chats. Thanks for paying the bills this month to everyone out there. Purple Belt Mike says, if the Jets land Agnew, I'm confident Ben Johnson comes.
Why not Aaron Glenn? Why? Yeah, I'm not either. Why not? I wonder if I don't know what Ben Johnson wants. To be honest with you, I don't know.
Power and a quarterback, I'd imagine. Which the
yeah,
Jets
but last year
neither.
he would have had power, all the money in the world, new ownership, and the number 2 overall pick, and he said no.
Maybe he didn't like the quarterback class coming out.
Yeah, well, he didn't like it last year. I don't know if he's going to like it this year, but
that's why I think if he's taking a job, Dallas, Jacksonville,
Dallas and Chicago are the two that
Chicago,
I watch.
If he likes Caleb, if he thinks he could fix him. Yep.
Yeah, Caleb looked good yesterday. He took the one bad sack, but 340 and multiple touchdowns. Dallas is always interesting just because Jerry will pay and you have Dak locked in for 4 years and CD and and stuff like that. But yeah, no, look, I don't know. Agnew's an amazing scout. He's going to get a lot of press he's going to get a lot of, we'll see if he takes a job. Again, there's no guarantee that, he'll leave, but he is certainly an extremely bright mind in the scouting community.
KJH with a $10 super chat. The 33rd team has hundreds of connections throughout the NFL and know guys intimately so they could have a feel for their fit in a place like New York and a team like the Jets. Not everyone would be a good fit. And that's where I think Tannenbaum comes into play here. There's a difference between being a GM in Kansas City, a GM in Jacksonville, or being the general manager of the New York Jets. It's a different level of scrutiny, a different level of pressure, especially now when this team does still have some talent on it, and they haven't made the playoffs since 2010. Like, every new GM or coach comes in and says, we're not going to be the same old Jets. That all happened before we got here. And then eventually the SOJ karma engulfs them. It takes a special person to be able to deal with all that. And that's where Tannenbaum, understanding the job and understanding the media market, could be helpful in some of the recommendations he makes.
I can assure you one thing about Mike, really tough interviewer. I mean, can tell you he is as much of a hard ass in interviews as it gets. Rick knows football better than anybody, or better than pretty much anybody, like just as well as anybody, I should say. These guys are not going to sit there and they're going to use, the whole point is using all this data, all these different guys that are head coaches and GMs, and ultimately going into, they have relationships and they are people that know the sport. They know how this thing works. They can identify talent. So yeah, I don't like this. They have a lot on the line for them to do this. This is what this company was built off of. Again, it's better than Charlie Casserly, who hadn't been a GM in almost 30 years. And had no ties. Mike has ties to the Jets, man. Mike hired a lot of people that are in that building. Mike has a very good relationship with like the at One Jets Drive. You think Mike's going to not go out there and try to do his best to make this work? Because we look pretty bad on him if it doesn't work, right? Like all things considered. And again, Rick's got a really good reputation. I don't think he's going to sit there. And I don't know. I think people are like, I understand people are always hesitant with any of these things, but I saw everyone campaigning and championing the Commanders for doing it last year. Why they wouldn't do it this year is quite confusing.
What do you think it means for Rex Ryan that Tannenbaum's involved in this? Does it help him? Does it hurt him?
I think Rex will get an interview, but I don't think. I don't. I still don't see it. I wish Rex had the ego he could be a DC, but here. But I just.
He would never take that job here.
No, I think it's not an original idea by any means, but the time to bring in Rex would have been this year when they fired Saleh and said, hey, we're going to do the Jeff Saturday thing, but you've been a really successful coach at points, and you're going to run this thing the rest of the year, and you're going to come in, and if hopefully you can change it. And if you change it, you'll get the job. And if you don't, at least you got a shot to be a head coach again for 10, 12 weeks. But I don't see the Rex thing. He is twerking on it for an interview. And I get it.
He released a song about it.
Did he?
Oh, yeah. You know what time it is. You tried to throw him away, but this man's coming back. Sometimes he's fat or thin. That waistband makes him slim. He's got the fix you need. They call him sexy. Rexy.
Fuck Gruden, he's no Jet. I'm here to crack some skulls. I'll turn these boys to men. This team is stacked with pros. Hire me, you won't break your purse. I'm here to break the curse. They call me sexy. Rexy. Fuck all you naysayers.
Ooh, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy.
I don't know, Will. Mike Tannenbaum might have heard that song from Rex and said, I recommend that guy.
That song was that'll be up there with the Bobby Midnight intro.
It's powerful.
It's powerful stuff.
How do you feel about the Charles Gorman burp?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I burped. That
was good stuff right there. These are some good drops.
I got plenty. Rex is not my first choice. I think I would have him like 5th in my rankings, but I'm not as anti-Rex as some. I just want to know who his staff is. You know what gives me hope about Rex? His son, Seth, is a receivers coach on the best offense in the NFL, the Detroit Lions.
Ray Agnew's son is a scout with the Jets.
Right. So you mean to tell me that like Rex is not watching the Lions? Of course, he's watching the Lions all the time. He's wearing Lions gear all the time when you see him out in public, by the way. So, like, he can't bring an assistant with him over from Detroit with his son, and that's the offense they're going to run?
My only thing with Rex is that what would make the Rex hiring appealing to me would also make the reason why they wouldn't need Rex Ryan. Like, if they get a good GM and a talented offensive coordinator, you're probably getting a really attractive coaching candidate, because that's kind of that's the perfect trio where Rex to me is Liam Cohen doesn't leave, Jesse Minter won't leave, Vrabel goes somewhere else, Ben Johnson goes somewhere else, Aaron Glenn goes somewhere else. They don't want Cliff, Flores goes somewhere else or doesn't want the job. And then you're kind of in that Mike McCarthy, Rex, Gruden. You're kind of in those waters, or are you doing the really unproven guy? Or are you doing the retread Dable when he gets fired? You're kind of in that era, and then you're like, oh, I could convince myself of Rex. I love that Rex loves the Jets. He's one of the most talented defensive minds ever. There's no question about it. But my issue with Rex is that more than anything, Jake, would his scheme work still? I mean, we've seen Wink Martindale run it, but Rex's scheme was so dependent on Revis, which is fine. You would hope that maybe Sauce could play even 75% of that. And
it's not like he didn't have good defenses in Baltimore.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, he didn't. No, that's what I'm saying. He adjusted it to what the Jets had when they were peak those Jets defenses. And secondly, my worry is just what offensive staff does he have relationships with still in the league, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe he has more than we think, and he can sell. Hey, I'm going to bring. I don't know. Just make up the example. I'm going to bring Josh McCown over, and I'm going to bring over not Bill Callahan, obviously, but somebody else, and we're going to do this whole thing. Maybe he can do that, and if he can,
Mark Brunell is the quarterback coach of the Lions. Does he make him the OC?
Right.
Seth takes a role in the staff.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You could convince there's a world in which it could work. I worry when you're out of the game for that long. Even Gruden, who won a Super Bowl and who's an offensive mind and had some success with Vegas, but it didn't. I mean, I think it's more because he was the GM, but in general, you just wonder. I don't know. You just wonder. That's all. I'm not. I'd be much more excited about. Hey, the Jets. They went out and went DC, but they went Jesse Minter and they took Will Johnson or Mason Graham in round 1, and this defense is going to be a top 5 defense again next year, and they have a 40-year-old head coach who is from a tree that is already proving to be proving its dividends like that. And it's a culture guy, and like, and he isn't going to call plays and whatever. Maybe I would be more excited about that, or Liam Cohen, or Aaron Glenn, or
See, that's the only thing I'd push back on, right? If you tell me it's the offensive guy like Ben Johnson, no brainer. But I honestly think I would take Rex over Aaron Glenn. Oh, first time head coach with a defensive background. Give me Rex Ryan over that guy.
Do you worry at all with Aaron Glenn that like he's going to try to be Dan Campbell and he's not Dan Campbell? That's my worry with the Lions guys.
I don't know. I don't know enough about him to know his personality. If he's like, I feel like he's uniquely himself. Like on Hard Knocks, I felt
I agree. I'm just saying. I think you always wonder. Meeks, who does a bunch of stuff with Badlands, made a good point the other day. We were talking back and forth, and he's like, I have a small worry with the Lions guys that Campbell is such a unique personality, is such a unique guy that do people try to copy him? The organizations start to try to copy what the Lions have, and they don't have that. Where the people used to try to copy the Patriots over and over and over again, and no one's Bill, and
no one had Brady either.
Right? No one had Brady either. So it's like, I always wonder about that just a little bit. I'm not saying that Aaron Glenn's not a really good candidate, and I would be very excited about that potential hire and stuff. I do wonder a little bit. You always just wonder, Pittsburgh never really has great assistants, but if there's someone coming from Pittsburgh that wanted to be Mike Tomlin, like Mike Tomlin is uniquely Mike Tomlin, right? Like it's like you can't copy that. Whereas I do think with a McVay, with Kyle, with other guys, you do see success elsewhere because it's so much around the scheme. It's so much around building up confidence with your quarterback and doing these different things that I think it's a little bit more repeatable. Where sometimes I wonder with the energy, personality, culture guys, is it always repeatable? Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not.
Super chat from Nick Shine. Rodgers starting at this point feels like filing for divorce and still having to share a bed. Except for Rodgers, we know we're still getting effed. Will, your thoughts on Nick Shine's analogy?
I mean,
what if he plays well, Nick? That'd be my only pushback. Can we see if he's healthy post-bye week?
Yeah, do you get like maybe a little honeymoon phase, where
I'm going to lose my gosh darn bananas.
Somebody say lovemaking?
Oh, man. Boy Green, baby.
What do we got here? This one's from Frank. He says, how many wins in a row would it take for both of you to start thinking crazy about the 7 seed? Because Miami's likely getting it. Healthy AR8 is an AR8.
Why do you think Miami's getting it? I would be curious because Denver's the 7 seed right now, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
And Denver's 7-5. Miami's 5-6, 4-7, whatever it is. The only way that you re-engage in the discussion around the 5 seed or the 7 seed, I apologize, is if the Jets got to 7-8 and 1 in Buffalo. They'd have to win 4 in a row for anyone to have a real discussion about it. If I'm being just perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, come on now. Also, Miami, you were correct. They're 5-6. Here's the thing with Miami. Give them credit. They've look at
their strength of victory.
I was about to say they won the games they're supposed to win, which is something the Jets obviously haven't done all year, and that's why they're out of it and Miami's alive. But I'm not buying into Miami being a legit playoff threat until they actually beat a good team, and they do get a chance Thursday, Thanksgiving evening, in Green Bay to try and prove they could not only beat a good team but beat a good team in the cold, which has been a huge problem for Miami.
19 degrees Thursday night.
So I love Green Bay in that game on Thursday, but if the Dolphins in a short week go into Lambeau and win, I mean, I'll start to say, you know what, give them a lot of credit. But until I see that, I'm not buying it just yet.
Yeah, I think Miami does a really good job of beating up on bad teams until they start winning in the cold, winning in December and January. Tua is a 500 quarterback or below 500 in December and January, and he's 70% winning percentage in the beginning of the year.
He's also never won a game when the temperature's below 45 degrees.
Even below 70, his record kind of sucks.
It's not great.
It's like, let's be honest, like the Jets, if they don't win this week, the first time they might win in cold weather is going to be the Jets week 18. That probably is the first time he ever wins under 40 degrees.
Right, because the Jets will be having their bags packed and Miami might need the game.
The Jets will probably lose 4 the next 5. They will be in line to be in a top 4 pick, and they will beat Miami somehow week 18. We all know it's going to happen.
Well, just get ready because
the Geno game in what was that, 2013? they knocked Miami out and he had the perfect passer rating, or was that
Yeah.
14? That was 14.
Well,
right?
he did it back-to-back years. I don't know
the
which year they
Tannehill
were in
game was
playoff
I think
contention.
it was 14 because Rex got fired right after it. Everyone's like, "Ooh, should they bring Rex back? They're 5-12 or 5-10 or 11, whatever."
Yeah, but remember the previous year they beat Miami to finish 8-8, and Rex got like the Gatorade bath.
Yeah, no. So this was
crazy.
the next year, I believe, and the Dolphins had to just win and in, and Geno had the perfect passer rating to Decker in 2014.
Yeah, you're right.
Decker kind of had a not great first year, and then he had like 300 yards and like 3 touchdowns in that game, so his season stats weren't bad. They obviously Geno gets punched, and then Fitz takes over that bum, and yeah, it's maybe the Jets revisit history.
Crazy. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we got time for maybe 1 or 2 calls with Will. I'll stay on for the rest. You referenced this guy earlier. Here we go.
Hi, everybody. This is Bob from Vermont. I am Bob, of course. Yeah, I wish I had that as the opening. That's a funny one. I like him. He's funny.
Bobby.
Hold on 1 minute. How you doing today?
Bobby, silence your phone here. We're working.
I know. So how you doing, Will?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Excited to see kind of what unfolds here. I think that's the only way to kind of approach this.
Well, if he starts out bad, we know he's hurt.
Yep. And if he starts out bad, you're probably looking at Rodgers on IR, right? If after that, and
Well, I think they should start. What's his name?
Tyrod.
That's why you got him for it. So start him. What the?
Well, it's too late for that now, though. At this point, I want to see what Rodgers looks like
I
off
would
the
have
bye.
started him after Minnesota when he got hurt.
Right. It's too late, though. It's over. Like now it's you let Rodgers play Sunday. If he looks healthy, great. If not, then maybe it is Tyrod time. We'll see.
Yeah, don't watch the second game on Thanksgiving, please. It's gonna be horrible.
I hope the Cowboys sign Daniel Jones and he starts and he eviscerates the Giants on Thursday.
Oh, I know, right? That could be happening. The Giants stink.
I would say they're the worst team in the NFL. I think comfortably.
Yeah, I think so because you got rid of Barkley, you idiots. Then you keep
McKinney.
that dumb. You got rid of him anyway. So why do you pay him all that money, you idiots? Oh my God, I was frustrated yesterday. Oh, Cutlets came in yesterday, and then the Miami plays in the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Yeah.
Nick Shine just tried to call you?
Yes. Yeah, I know. Okay, that's fine. I'll get back to you. The reason why I told him, him and a couple of people bought me diabetic shoes, and they feel great.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Because the other diabetic shoes I wore on the other day are too big for me. They were 9.5. These are 9. Perfect. So I'm happy. So I'd be dancing if we have the party down at the December 1st. Yeah, we're gonna be rocking.
Yeah.
And turn the beat on, right? Well, you gotta be there. You gotta be there.
I don't know where I'm going to be, but
December 1st, you should be there. Come on, visit us.
I'll be at the game, probably, to be honest with you. But
You're going to be at the game?
Yeah, but if I'm not, I'll stop.
All right,
by.
if you are, you can meet, do you ever hear Addison? You can meet my friend Addison.
Yeah, you can meet Addison, bro.
Yeah, he's from California. He's flying from Florida. No, California, not Florida. Yeah, that's good. I'm happy. So, yeah, my feet feel a lot better with those shoes than the other ones.
Tremendous.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to tell him. I was going to text him. I hit the damn phone thing instead.
I see.
So, yep, I'm having a good day. Let's go, Jets. I hope they win when we go down.
Me too.
I got my winter jacket and gloves. I'm all ready to go. So
all right.
We've got to kick some ass, hopefully, maybe. Is the Seattle Seahawks defense good at all?
No. Very
So
mediocre.
we're going to destroy him.
Oh, a confident Bobby Midnight.
If Aaron is healthy, like he says he is, he lied to us after the Minnesota game. He's not doing good. Remember, he went backwards? Me and Jake thought it was done.
Yes.
That's where he got hurt, I think, right there, with his ankle, then the hamstring. That happens. Okay, guys, you have a great day. I know you have to leave soon, Will Parkinson. You're a very busy man.
Farewell, Bob.
Well, you know I have my own YouTube show. If I'm awake, I'm going live. Unless Jake has a show, Bobby.
Bobby took up all the time for remaining callers. Will, I appreciate you hopping on.
Of course, man. I appreciate you. Appreciate having me as always. Everyone, just try to take a deep breath. Until they mess it up, there's no reason to assume maybe Rick, who has never hired for the Jets, would do the wrong thing. But he might. But right now, maybe just hope that the Jets figure it out and these guys can come in and do a good job and put Woody in a good spot to not mess this thing up.
TOJ Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Will's part of the Badlands Podcast Network on Patreon. You can hear him once a week on that feed. Will, appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Thanks so much, man. Enjoy.
Will Parkinson joining us in his weekly spot on the program. Yeah, baby.
You shut up! I'm so fucking scared right now. You shut up!
That's my response to Mike Florio for this asinine take here. Ridiculous. Paulie says, Jake, you are the effing man. You're the reason why people still have hope in this team. Let's go for Rex and see how Rodgers can perform for next season. Good kicker, a must, and proper O-line. Let's go. Paulie, while I do appreciate the super chat, I'm definitely not the reason why people still have hope. I appreciate it. I just could tell you, I've seen it be way worse for other teams, and they seemingly have figured it out. So I'm just hoping the Jets could figure it out. I also have seen it be worse with some of the teams I root for. I bring up the Nick example all the time. How about the Islanders? Now, it's not so great now. Lou Lamoriello has probably overstayed his welcome, but when they lost John Tavares, you know what they did? Ledecky and Malkin, the owners of the team, they hired Lou, who hired Barry Trotz, and the Islanders made the playoffs in a year no one had them making it their first year. Then they went to the conference finals back-to-back years, like the Jets in 09 and 10. Like, you bring the right people in to run your organization, you could turn it around. The Islanders were a joke and had not won a playoff series since the early 90s before those guys got there a few years back and turned it around. And the Nick example, everyone knows how big of a joke the Knicks have been under Dolan. To your last point, good kicker and proper O-line for sure. I do think the offensive line's better than people realize. I would like a real O-line coach, and I would like some continuity there. I'd bring back Morgan Moses and have the same 5 guys starting next year. How about that for a concept? Because I think the O-line overall has been fine. As far as Rodgers, I mean, let's see how he looks down the stretch. I'm not bringing him back just yet. Hit the like button if you're tuning in. Open phone lines if you want in on the conversation. We'll take more of your calls here before we wrap. Let's say hello to V-Man.
It's time for another V-Man call. Hopefully he not sleeping. Adios mio.
Hey Jake, what's up? How you doing?
Hello, V-Man.
To go on what you were talking about with Tannenbaum and knowing and having the experience of being a GM in New York, I agree with that. I think that's it reminds me of this clip from like the NFL 100 where they're talking Spike Lee.
You look like you're like I just looked up and saw where you were calling us from. You look like you're in a hostage video.
Is that bad?
And now we can't hear you.
Like I was saying, it reminded me of this clip. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me? Like I was saying, there's a thing with New York is that you got to be special. You got to be a bit crazy to want New York.
Thank you, V-Man. What's happening? We had him at the beginning. He was in the darkness, and now we couldn't hear him. All right, if anyone else wants in, join the show. No one's gifted a membership yet this show, so I will gift one right now, so we at least can get someone getting a channel membership here. If you want a membership, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and make sure you like the video, and then the algorithm might reward you. But it is all random. It's based on people who engage with the show the most. Like, I can't even tell you the amount of times people DM me, how do I get a membership? And I'm like, do I not say it enough during the show? So I'm trying to explain it again. Here we go. 1 membership being gifted right now. Let's see who's going to get it. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Here we go. 1 membership officially gifted here. Let's see who got it. Les Komar is the recipient of the channel membership. Congrats, Les. Peter Castro says, Rodgers, in my opinion, is done. Leg hurts. Doesn't hurt. F it. Just release him. Well, why don't we watch how the game goes on Sunday first, Peter? I love you already had your take made up and you don't allow for potential new information to influence your opinion. Chris J has gifted 1 channel membership. Thank you, Chris.
Excuse me.
Joshua Langley is the recipient of the channel membership. If you gift it, we will shout you out. Appreciate you, Chris. Thanks for the support. Ralphie with a super chat. Shouldn't the Jets try for the next great young head coach versus a retread? Do you have any faith in the Jets trying to find the next great young head coach? The top young great head coach might be Ben Johnson. I don't think he would take this job. So you know what I want, Ralphie? Someone who's done the job at a high level. Experience. I'm tired of the first-timers. Learning on the job, being overwhelmed. It takes a special person to coach or GM the Jets. That's why I want Vrabel, Flores, Stefanski, if fired, Rex. I mean, that's my top 4. I'm not even like if I could include anyone, sure, I'll put Ben Johnson on it. I don't think it's realistic. I would try. I don't think it's going to be realistic. And then I would probably have Todd Monken, the Ravens offensive coordinator, on the list too. So Rex is probably 4 or 5 on my list, but he's on my list. He's definitely on my list. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. Appreciate everyone tuned in to the program here. Gator writes in, what are Peter Castro's coaching choices? Answer.
Once we get Ulebrick out of here, my coaching choices are Bay Brill first. Then I want a Queensberry. Got to look at Monkey from Baltimore and maybe Slow Dick in Houston.
Bobby Slowdick, Texans offensive coordinator. Bobby says, how do I get gifted a membership?
Aaron isn't as committed as a lot of the young guys. He's not going to sit and watch game film all weekend. And I think he's aging faster than other guys.
Rob V says, Peter Castro versus Neil again. I enjoyed that segment on the first show. It's debatable if we're going to enjoy this segment right now. Ladies and gentlemen, a warning has officially been issued.
Warning! Warning! Allen alert! Shit's about to get ugly, folks. Warning! Allen alert! Hide the children!
Hey, Jake, what's going on? I listened to your call this morning with Bonesy, and you have no shame, honestly. Bonesy is a drug addict, okay? Unfortunately, he's addicted to garbage general managers and old fart quarterbacks, and you just egg him on. How do you continue to do that? Please, can you put him on a 6-week sabbatical? He cannot go back. Reading him on the chat, he still says that Joe Douglas is a top 10 GM. He continues to say that. And you know what? I blame you, Jake. Jake, you are at fault with this whole thing, okay? I understand he's a good guy, but Bonesy needs to be muzzled. He needs a month in Stupid Town, okay? A month. And you could take that. You could take that midget Dre with him. He can go to the Super Down as well. Okay. And one other comment to Rob, the Jet fan. I never said that Benjamin Johnson was coming here. I had only hoped that if John Dorsey got hired, he would actually beg Ben Johnson to come here. Ben Johnson.
Alan?
Hello?
We lost you there for a second.
Okay. I'm sorry. All I said is Rob, the Jet fan. I did not say that Ben Johnson was coming. He's not coming here. I said he was never coming here. He would not want to come here. And unfortunately, I think it's going to be Brian Flores, Aaron Glenn. And unfortunately, I think Rex Ryan will be a top 3 candidate for the job. I just don't see a lot of these big names wanting to come here. And I think Rex Ryan might be the most enthusiastic guy who actually would want to take this job. That's scary to say that.
I would have no problem with Flores. I would have no problem with Vrabel if they try and get him. I would have no problem with Monken if they try to get him. There'll be candidates they could get.
I don't think Monken's taking this job. I think Vrabel's not taking this job. I think Rex Ryan will be a finalist for this job, unfortunately. But again, Jake,
I have no problem with Rex. I'm curious who'd be on
you can't bring him back. Come on. It's laughable to bring him back. Come on.
Is it though?
It's
the Jets have
over.
been laughable since he left.
I understand that. You cannot bring him back.
I don't know.
You got to bring in new blood. And again, Aaron Rodgers needs to go.
It'd be a different staff, different GM. What if Spielman and Tannenbaum evaluate all the options? So like Rex makes the most sense. We need a culture changer.
You think Rex would come here and not have his full input on personnel, both offensively and defensively? The major problem with him at the end of his tenure is he wanted to be involved in all drafting. Remember, he took Quentin Coples over Chandler Jones. He thought he was,
which was a mistake, 100%. I think he's learned from a lot of that. I'm willing to at least hear him out.
Okay, but finally, Jake, I know Bonesy is one of your good friends. Please, 6 weeks sabbatical, no more. It's enough.
I love it.
Okay, goodbye. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Look, Mr. Bonesy loves Joe Douglas. He's addicted. I can't tell him not who to love. I think he's nuts. But that's it. I'm laughing at the comments calling Allen Hoodie Allen. Shout out to the great Hoodie Allen, friend of the show. Big fan of his music. Long Island's own, baby. Huge Jeff fan. You might be watching. Shout out to Hoodie. Mock, would you want Darnold back? Not sure I would. I'm out on Sam. I'm not paying him. I'm not giving him a big deal. I think Sam Darnold, great story. Good for him. I'm not paying him. I don't think it fits. I think the Jets have Tyrod and they have Jordan Travis and they should draft someone. That's what I would do. If you don't do it in the first round, second round, if you don't do it in the top 10, do what the Ravens did. Trade back into the end of round 1 and take Jalen Milroe at the end of the first round and have him sit for a year. Bobby writes in, I've officially stopped listening to all this nonsense. What are we talking about nowadays? We're talking about the Jets, you bum. The same thing we talk about every day on this channel. Twice a day. 365 days a year, pretty much. Are you new here? I guess you're not. You said you officially stopped listening. Oh, Bobby said he unsubscribed. Hey, man. Congrats. Nobody cares. Your day is done.
Now look what you've done. No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the Sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give them another 24 hours to think about it.
See ya. I missed a super chat from the big fella, apparently. Where? I don't see it. Oh, here we go. I missed one from Marvin and Hennessy, too. My fault, guys. Didn't see this. Do you think the next GM will trade up for a quarterback? Do I think the next GM will trade up for a quarterback? I do think it's definitely possible. I don't know how many quarterbacks are considered first-round guys right now. It's very early. It's November still. Henny in the house. Get ready, guys. This is when we start winning games and finish with the famous 7-10 record. Then Rex will come in and call season ticket holders. I mean, that'd be pretty funny. 7-10. So the Jets have what? They're 3-8. If the Jets finish 7-10, they would have to go 4-2 down the stretch, right? Am I good at math? Yeah, 4-2 down the stretch. That'd be something. Big fella, I'm done with Rodgers. Keep Tyrod as the bridge. Extend Garrett ASAP. You can't extend him till the offseason because you're not allowed under his rookie deal. Draft Mason Graham and Jackson Dart. What do we do with Devontae? Vols by 50 on Saturday. I think Devontae won't be here next year. So I think you cut him and you save a ton of money in cap. Originally, they were going to cut him anyway and just redo his deal with Rodgers, but I don't see that happening. If you want to draft a defensive tackle in the top 10, it's a huge need next to Quinnen. I get it. I don't love it, but I would rather a receiver, but I get it. I don't know the big board yet. I haven't even gotten that far. Can we get a GM and coach first? Did I miss any other super chats here? I don't think I did. Tony says, Darnold lighting it up. We should care. We should be the Vikings today. You really think Sam Darnold was ever going to turn out to this with the Jets? They screwed Sam over, but he also had a couple other stops before he did this. He went down to Carolina, and it was more of the same. Some good, and then teams figured him out. He was bad. He was a backup ultimately down there. Then he goes to the Niners for a year. He's a backup. And now he has one of the best offensive coaches coaching him and one of the best skill players in the league helping him. He's got a running game there, and he's got Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. I like Sam personally. The idea that Darnold would do this for every team, I don't buy that. I wouldn't pay Sam. Let someone else make that mistake. And I don't think he'd even want to come back to the Jets anyway. Even if the Jets were serious about trying to pursue him. I think Sam needed to leave New York. Let's say hello to Purple Belt Mike before we start to wrap, unless more people call in. Hello, Mike. You're on mute, Mike, so you got to unmute the mic, and then we'll be able to hear you, baby.
Nice. Thoughts on Nussmeier, the quarterback from LSU?
I haven't watched him enough to have a strong enough opinion.
I think he'd be perfect to learn under Rodgers or whatever bridge we have. But that's who I like. I do like Milrow, even though he had the one bad game. But I really think a project quarterback with the right person is the way that we should go. And draft that defensive tackle that you were talking about, Graham, in the first round if we can get him. So we need to stop the run. I don't care who our quarterback is. If we can't stop the run, that's been our Achilles heel for a couple of years now. So got to stop the run. Got to fix the defense and move forward, see what happens.
How you feeling, Mike?
I feel like shit. I'm a Jets fan.
Mm.
You know? It sucks. I will say I love my tree. Oh, you want something cool? Hold on. I got a 14-foot inflatable dog. Hold on, I gotta show this now. By the way, Allen looked like Darth Allen with the hood on. Gator can get on that. It could be a Star Wars character. I'll freeze my ass off in a t-shirt.
Here we go. Purple Belt Mike giving us some sort of tour.
Yeah, hold on.
Uh-oh.
Look at this thing.
Oh, wow. There we go. I love that.
It's huge. So it's overlooking. The gate's locked. I can't go outside and show you the rest of my decorations. But you can see how tall it is. This is me.
You're in the
It's
spirit,
huge.
baby. Are you going to
Yeah,
sing any
baby.
Christmas carols on the show this year?
Tell you what. If Rodgers throws 300 yards once, I will sing anything that you want. How's that? Is that a deal?
That's a deal. I like it.
All right. So I don't know if it's going to happen, but
So he doesn't need to win. He just needs to throw 300 yards. That's
Let me go to
it.
the front of the house. Might as well show you.
All right, here we go. The tour continues, folks.
Yeah, if it goes 300 yards, I'll do it. Yeah. Show you the front. Now I have some stuff not out yet. Because it's not even Thanksgiving, obviously.
Are you doing this?
But,
No, I'm doing this.
I go all out. So some of the stuff is not out yet. But see the dog overlooking the fence?
Oh, yeah.
I got lights for down here where the train is. So that's not out yet. I got lights for all here, but that's not out yet. A couple of the inflatables. I have all string lights that I didn't put up yet. Got my Surfing Santa. I love this thing. There it is.
This is more riveting than the Jet season.
Definitely. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no doubt.
Christmas decorations, dude.
I
That's
love
what
it.
we got.
It looks great, Mike. You did a tremendous job.
Oh, these two are out. Fuck, I got to plug these in. See these? I got to plug these bitches in.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So what happens when you don't do it all together? But, yep. Little Christmas tour for you. I'll check this out, too. I love that.
Merry Christmas, baby.
That's nice, baby. It's nice. Jet,
Mike?
thanks for bringing me that joy.
Excellent job out of you. This was a memorable call.
All right, hold on. One more. While we're here. It's not done yet, but my mantle. Is this on? I don't know if I plugged it in. Let's go.
Oh, wow. There it is.
I actually built this. There was a wall that I took down. You can tell by the floor. And then I built this myself, the mantle and everything.
It looks pretty good.
Yep. There's a house tour.
Ladies and gentlemen, Purple Belt Mike.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Thank you, Mike. Super chat here from Paulie. We need someone who will have the balls and pull these guys by the face mask and say, get your bleep together. This is the NFL. I'm for Flores as well, but then again, you need to be very special to stand up for this team. That's why I think experience is so important when it comes to this job. Flores is in my top 3 of realistic candidates. So I'm with you. Vrabel, Flores, Stefanski, if fired. Stefanski's 1 if fired. Vrabel 2. Flores 3. I think Rex might be 4 for me. And I love Rex. I can't go there over guys that have done it more recently. Mother effing Chew has gifted a channel membership.
Choo-choo! Mother effing choo!
Donald Wallace is the recipient of the membership, baby. Yeah. We had a guy on hold that looked like a first-time caller, then he dropped out, but I didn't get his name. It would happen very quick. If you were that guy, call back in, and I'll extend the show for you. We welcome all first-time callers. Oh, I have a great Mr. Bonesy story that I wanted to share earlier when Alan brought him up, but I forgot. Bonesy told me today that he got stopped at the food store over the weekend because he was recognized as Mr. Bonesy from the Jake Asman show. I think it's finally setting into my wife that I'm Jets YouTube Jake Asman famous. How funny is that? We've had V-Man sightings in public, Charles Gorman sightings in public. Mr. Bonesy getting recognized now. Snowball, Jake, would you trust any coaching candidate as a head coach / GM with help from a capologist? Vrabel, I would, yeah. But you would still hire a GM, right? Like John Lynch is the GM of the Niners, but Shanahan has final say. Yeah, that would be the layout. $11.89 writes in. Maybe Mr. Bones, you should hire Joe Douglas to play Santa Claus for his children this Christmas. He has free time now. Damn. I mean, Joe Douglas is available. Man. Ladies and gentlemen, he has called back. Team Curry. Curry, are you a first-time caller?
First-time caller, my friend. Can you hear me?
There you go. I was going to get to you last time, but you dropped out.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to be embarrassed by the connection.
No, you're good. You sound all right, man. Thanks for calling. Damn.
I am a fan.
Haven't they given you enough pain? You wanted to get a tattoo of them on your body?
I've had it for over like 10 years, you know, so I appreciate your content, brother. You make great stuff. You keep me sane. You keep the insane people away. Like, you rock, my man. Like, Jake, you are the man. No way to put it. But just a couple of points real quick. Like, I hear you with, you know, bringing back Sexy Rexy, because he is sexy, you know. I just don't want him to be our head coach. We've been down that road. Do you think we can just hire him just to have some kind of special position where he does help the discipline of the team? Because, you know, that's what we're lacking.
What would that be, though? Right? Like if Rex wanted to be the DC, great, would love it. I don't think Rex Ryan's ego would allow him to be the DC of the team that he.
Well, not a DC, just assistant head coach.
That's even worse. That's even worse. That's less power than running the whole unit of the defense. There's no role for him. I know what you're saying. Like, you know, the Jets hired him a couple years ago as like an advisor to the Johnson.
Yes.
But he wants to be the head coach. He's not taking a job that's not the head coach. I think he's made that pretty clear.
I mean, we just need to draw our fan base back where we bleed green and white. And, you know, yes, we wanted Aaron Rodgers, and it didn't work out. That's just the bottom line. Not everything works out. So moving forward, I think we are in a better position of hiring Tannenbaum to get a committee together to start from the top down. And then who knows where we can go, like you keep saying, like Detroit. Like, I'm a big Knicks fan, too. The funny thing is, I'm from New York. Guess where I'm living at? Buffalo.
Oh, that's brutal. How'd you end up in Buffalo?
I went to school here about 10 years ago, so it's way cheaper to live in Buffalo than it is New York City. So
that's like the Buffalo Jet fan. I think same thing for him, and then he got a job up there.
Yeah, and that's what it was. Went to school, graduated. I went to go look for a studio apartment in the Bronx, and it told me $1,500. And I was like, you know what, you could spend $1,500 in Buffalo, and all utilities included, and 20 wings. So,
all right, what's the go-to wing spot up in Buffalo? Are you a Duff's guy, Anchor Bar, Bar Bill? I know there's like a bunch.
Stay away from the Anchor Bar. They are probably the most overhyped, overrated. They kind of like the New York Jets of Buffalo wings. Like, you'll go there only for like, hey, look at me, I'm at Meadowlands Park, or hi, I'm at, you know, the original Anchor Bar. But other than that, there's no place like a hole in the wall. I'm from New York, so a bodega is always a spot to get, you know, your bacon, egg, and cheese and anything like that. So it's kind of like the same thing with your wings.
So just some of the local spots that aren't popular you go to there. Got it.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just wanted to say that first time caller, Jake, keep it up. I envy you. You are whatever gives you the strength and power, my brother. You keep on doing your thing, man. You keep doing it.
I appreciate it. Curry, call back anytime, man. Great first call. God bless you for having a tattoo of the Jets on your wrist and living in Buffalo. Oh, I will say, I know, you know, people in Buffalo say Anchor Bar is overrated. I had it one time. I thought it was great. I've not had Duff's or Bar Bill yet, so I got to try it. My brother went to University of Buffalo, though. He's had all the places, so, you know, he tells me what the best spots are. He would agree that Anchor Bar is overrated. I thought it was good. I don't know. Now, there was one that opened up in Manhattan, but it's gone. I don't know why it didn't work out. It was like the official Bills bar here. Great first call there from Team Curry. Now, look, the Asmaniac rankings come out at the beginning of every month. Is one call enough for Team Curry to get on the list? I'd imagine it'd be tough for him to get in the top 10 off one call. But if he's a consistent caller, could he get in the tournament and make the field of 64 and go on a run in March? He probably could. Zach Asman is watching the show. He says Bar Bill and Elmo's best wings in Buffalo. There you go. I knew Bar Bill, my friend who works for the Texans organization who I went to college with, speaks very highly of Bar Bill. That was Khalil Mack's favorite spot too, or something like that. Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps our final call. Jet Clown Dave is here. Hello, Jet Clown Dave.
Hey, it's Jet Clown Dave, and we're back, baby. How you doing, Jake?
I'm good, Jet Clown. How are you?
I'm good. You know, I'll tell you, I said it last year, and I'll say it again. I told you Rodgers wasn't going to come save the day. I told y'all Rodgers ain't going to do nothing for this cursed organization. I told you, Jake. And guess what? Let's have a little game here, pal. Let's play some blackjack, okay? Jake, place your bet, okay? Place your bet. Here's your first card. And here's the deal. Here's your hand. There you go, Jake. You get a hit. Dealer's showing a 2. What are you going to do, Jake?
I'm going to hit.
What are you going to do?
I'm hitting, Jet Clown.
Hey! But you know what? The Jets are always here to entertain us now, ain't they? Huh, Jake? That's right, baby. I told you, Rodgers ain't going to do nothing for us. And here we go. One more wasted season. One more, baby. J-E-T-S. Jets, Jets, Jets.
I don't know what the point of the blackjack hand was. that was a tough watch. You know, look, I appreciate the effort. All right. As someone who makes their living in radio, right? When I did Afternoon Drive in Houston, it was a 4-hour show. We'd have 16 segments a day. They wouldn't all be home runs. Sometimes just try things. Dave tried it. It didn't work, but I respect the effort. That was something. I don't know what that was. I don't think that call will be making a run in March. I mean, what was the point of the blackjack card? I rightfully hit. You had a 2 showing. I think I had an ace-3, right? So I either had a 14 or a 4. So I took the free hit with the 2 showing. I wanted to know what I had. What if you flipped an 8 there? Or what if you flipped a 7 and I had 21? I want to know what I want to know what I pulled there. Man. that was something. Khalil Mack's favorite wing spot was Elmo's, right by where he would practice. Okay, there you go. And that was talking Buffalo wings. I think we're done here. Ladies and gentlemen, after that call, please join the Patreon and support me. Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. We're updating the list of names in just a couple days, so get to the Patreon if you plan on joining. Give me the holiday gift of your Patreon membership. NB, Bailey, ZB, Victor, and Paul, thank you all for being our most recent Patreon subscribers. You guys are awesome. Thank you all. Good line by Snowball. Jake Woody finally held up his end of the bargain and called in. Fair. All right. On that note, thank you all for tuning into this fine program. We're going to be back tomorrow. Robbie Sabo joins us, usual time, 10 a.m. Eastern. He'll be on the program. We'll get into today's news cycle, get his thoughts on Tannenbaum and Spielman being brought aboard as consultants, and a whole lot more. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, Purple Bell Mike, I see your comment. Message me because we'll see what your Patreon name is listed as. And maybe that's why we don't have your name in the intro. It's probably there. You don't recognize it, though. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the show. A show that we'll never forget. Because I might have nightmares about that last call we took from the clown. Anyway, thank you all for your support. And speaking of nightmares, I'd imagine Bobby still has nightmares about this moment.
Oh, is that Gary's wife? Hi, Gary's wife. Oh, there she is. Very good looking.
Gary, you need to stop yelling at all your friends about Joe Douglas and all of the Jet stuff. I mean, I am going to leave you for Bobby. Wiggle, beagle, 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 beagle. Just let your cornrows down and just stop it already with all of the fighting. It's not worth it. I love Bobby. Wiggle, deagle, 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 deagle.
Hey guys, guess who's with me now?
Oh, Bubby.
It's the girl who makes my freaky roll.
Oh, Bubby.
She's the only one I let sit on my chair.
Oh, Bubby.
With her beautiful face and her long blonde hair.
Oh, Bubby. I mean, you know I'd stop by more often if you clean up this mess.
Oh, Sarah.
Is that an old ham sandwich over there, Bubby?
Yes, Sarah.
Do you think I'm prettier than 3D Gary, Bubby?
Of course, Sarah.
Because you said he's good looking with his long, sweet hair.
Oh, Sarah. I thought it was his wife.
Alan is back? Whoa!
I didn't want to call, but I thought it was necessary today.
I'm more of a comment guy than a call guy. There's a lot of Jet content creators and a lot of regular Jet callers. Chef Kevin, he's a nice guy. He hates 98% of my takes, but that's his prerogative. So yesterday he took the kumbaya claim that everybody should trust Robert Saleh. Oh, Robert Saleh this and Robert Saleh that. To me, when I watch Robert Saleh, I see a guy who lacks head coaching instincts. Please do not talk to me and other Saleh haters. They are winning games in spite of this coach, okay? The pom-pom Jet fans. I know B-Mac, he's in his own universe. I think he's arguing with himself 90% of the time. I get a lot of the hate throughout a lot of these Jet contents because I speak the truth. This is a loser franchise. I'm sorry to say this to a lot of you pom-pom Jet fans. This team hasn't won shit in my lifetime or in, I'll say 90% of Jet fans who watch these shows lifetime.
I will speak to you in about 2 months.
There's Alan. Wow. He came and he went. I know Jake Asman is definitely going to see that today before his show.
Oh, yeah, the dream season we've been waiting for is happening.